Very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And next session, which we have now, is talking about the bar segment, which I think is something which you all will love. And I have a great team panelists with me who come from various different backgrounds. Somebody from the hospitality domain, somebody running a bar, and somebody combining bar and restaurant both. So I'll quickly give the mic to each one of you to introduce yourself for a minute, and then we'll get into the discussion mode.
Hi, I'm Nikhil Rochlani. We have multiple brands. Kaima, which is an Asian and Mediterranean cocktail-focused bar. Then we have Butterfly High, which is a premium daily neighborhood bar. And it's a high-energy bar, which plays a lot of Bollywood music, and it's modern Indian focused. Then we have the Big Small Cafe and Bar, which is a daily neighborhood bar. Yeah, I think that's all about us for now.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Myself, Neeraj Sharma, currently associated with Roseate Hotels and Resorts. Previously, my properties I've worked where is the Imperial, Leela Palace Chanakapuri, Shangri-La, TGI Fridays, Cafe Coffee Day, Carnival Cruise Lines, Pullman Hotel Aerocity, and this is Roseate Hotels and Resorts where I'm currently associated.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joy Singh, and I'm a founder of Rasta and a partner at Yeti, the Himalayan Kitchen.
Okay, so I'll come to you first, Neeraj, and to understand a bit more in terms of how does the bar operations work in a hotel setup, and what kind of new curations you're seeing these days in terms of the menu.
See, the first thing which comes into the picture is curating your menu, designing your menu. It has to cater not just the the guest orders. It has to cater the needs and requirements and what exactly guest is looking for, what will make them happy, what will make them valued. So curation, like if I would like to give you an example, we have a group of European ladies, approximately 25-30. They travel twice a year. They come here for a Rishikesh trip for meditation. Once they come back to hotel, they have 2 nights stay with us. And yes, what drinks we have curated for them, it has an emotional attachment. The name of the drinks, like a name of the drink, if I say is TT and GNT, that is Tulsi, turmeric GNT for them. Another one is MOM, which is memory over overnight sleep. So yeah, I mean curating menu as per the guest requirement, and for sure creativity is very much required. If I say I serve every whiskey which is aged beyond 12 years is served with the choices of smoke chips. We smoke it and we serve it. So creativity at every level is very important. Choices at this moment in the Aerocity is a lot of bars with new ideas, with new curations. Where we stand is we have to stand every 6 months, something new coming up for our guests.
Nikhil, coming to you, you have multiple bars operating. So how do you look at the innovation happening with the kind of customers you have coming in at each of the bars?
So I feel innovation is very subjective as per each market, we try to understand what the customer wants rather than just innovating for the sake of it. So I feel needed innovation, innovation which actually makes sense should happen rather than just for the sake of it, right? So we innovate with products which actually add value to the ecosystem than just going by the trend and adding anything for the sake of it. I feel innovation should be something which is more sustainable. When you innovate, the product should be able to stay on your shelf for at least a year. Then you've innovated, right? Otherwise, I think we've just wasted our time and money and the customer's time somewhere. They've invested their money in trying your innovative product, which they didn't like. So there's no point, right? So whenever we innovate, we work very closely with our consumers to understand how often would they consume that product. Our innovative is more sustainable innovation, is what I would say.
Okay, but how experiential is today's customers these days?
I think customers love trying experiential, you're talking about experiential, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they like experientials, but if it's something which really adds value to the experience, they'll keep doing it. But for the first time, they'll try it just because it's something new. So as I said, it has to be more sustainable when it comes to experientials, innovations, anything. It's something you can take forward into your ecosystem, then yes, it's great. Right? If you add an experiential where you add a live singer, or you add a certain way you serve a cocktail, if that really improves the experience or the way they perceive the product, yes. Otherwise, I'm not very pro just innovating for the sake of providing experientials just to make it look good on paper.
Joy, coming to you, how do you see the menu evolving today in today's bars?
So there are two concepts to it. One is today there's evolvement in restaurants as well as bars. Earlier it was just your innovations, your cocktails were more specific to only bars, and restaurants used to serve the basics or straights. Today, as you said, the innovation has gone at that level where people really expect, they go to a restaurant and they expect a good innovative drink or a good pairing also. So that is where our market has reached today. It's not just limited to bars where we are innovating. And I think it's more to do with not high energy bars, but it's more to do with lounges and restaurants where more innovations are accepted, because you have time to serve the drink. You have time to experience the entire experience that a restaurateur is providing or a bar head is providing. Because in a high energy bar, it's more to do with turnovers, it's more to do with how fast can you churn a drink. There, innovation is limited because you have a time factor.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Talking about today's customers, I mean, where do you see them evolving? Are they more mindful in terms of what they're consuming? Are they mindful in terms of what goes inside the drink?
So there are some aspects to it. One, yes, there is a set of customers who are very, very mindful of what they are consuming and how much they are consuming with their calorie counts, with their health counts, with their dietary restrictions and all of that. And the other set of customers are majority to do with to show what they are consuming. It's a lot to do with social media these days, that they want to show that. A lot of them, like I personally feel and I have personally experienced that a lot of them are in terms of, okay, I don't know what you're serving, how you're serving, it should look beautiful. Because it should be Instagrammable. Okay, that is one aspect, one set of customer is that, but the other set of customer is very, very well read, very, these guys are also well traveled, but they are more aware of what goes inside their body. So there, and we as restaurateurs, we need to balance both. We need to make a good-looking product which is healthy too, or which is not harming the body as much. Alcohol is alcohol; you can't do anything about it, right? But still, which is more conscious is what we need to like make and produce.
Okay. Nikhil, what's your take on this?
So there's something we did. Right, when we started disclosing the spirits we use in our cocktails and providing upgrade options, I actually saw a drastic shift in consumption patterns.
Okay.
Right, when we started showing our consumers this is the option you're getting in this value, I saw a drastic shift to upgrades. People wanted to move one level above, and a lot of the consumers really did start adapting to upgrades because they realized I can put a better spirit in my system, as he rightly said, at a very minimalistic upgrade value. So you have to create ladders, which is important. You can't straight have a bottom and a top. There has to be a in the middle, right? And it really does work. If you see any brand which now a lot of consumers come and ask us, if it's not disclosed in a specific cocktail, right? What is the spirit you use? What is the brand you use? It's become a very important part of the restaurant ecosystem where consumers really want to know what's going in, especially with even food, with that entire analog paneer debate going on, right? I think consumers are becoming more and more aware, and I think even as restaurateurs, we need to disclose a lot more to provide them exactly what they need.
Okay.
Yeah. We can see there is a clear shift of the customers who are coming to, have their food and drinks from quantity to quality. especially after COVID, guests prefers to have only one or two drinks, not many. They are not over. They are not doing over. At the same time, why they are doing is they are now more knowledgeable. They know what they are consuming. They know what they want to consume. They know what exactly ingredient is going to benefit them. What I should have in the evening or maybe in the morning, right? Credit goes to the pandemic time. They've got enough time to, read about the novels, about the beverages, about the ingredients. We all know spirits contains a lot of carbohydrates, calories, fat content. But yes, that is how, 0% liquor is also added to the portfolios now. So no alcohol spirits. So, but yeah, we have also We have also been innovative. We have got zero alcohol spirits to our shelves. Kombuchas as a mixer, our tea concoctions, Darjeeling tea concoctions, masala tea concoctions to add to their cocktails as per their taste. So that's how, the things are being shifted.
Okay. Talking about the choice of beverages and the selection which you do at your hotel, how open are you in terms of the Indian artisanal brands these days?
So that has two perspectives. So, like as a hotelier, I cater two set of clients. One is set-minded. I am going to have a Dalmore 12 years only. I am going to have a Glenmorangie, 12 only. It's, specific to their brands. But yes, what I meet my bartenders team, my bar team, guests are very welcome to their suggestions also. Yes, I personally believe the Indian brands, artisanal brands, in one of my restaurants, Kheer, earlier all our cocktails, Manhattan, Rob Roy, you talk about any whiskey base or any drink. We were using either Irish or Scotch whiskies, but yes, very beautiful brand, Gyanchand. We have started using that's very subtle, very smooth, elegant whiskey. So we have started using Gyanchand, and that is giving a really good response. Really good response. So artisanal Indian curated is on the top. Yes, still we see an equal amount of international brands as well as Indian brands, but I personally feel Indian brands are taking over big time.
Okay. Nikhil, what's your take on this?
So I personally believe we Indians are good at everything we get into, right? And everything we set our mind at. I think one of the finest single malts in the world, Amrut, is now your Indri, your Amrut. Whether you go into the gin segment, I think Stranger & Sons is unparalleled in its price point and segment, right? We've got a Hapusa, we've got a Greater Than. I can go on and on. The list will never end. We have your Jaisalmer, we have your Rampur single malt. We have some of the finest spirits. I think since we started, we've come a long way. And each spirit has its own unique palate and flavor, right? I think our Indian government should get involved and even patent it like the Scottish guys did Scotch, right? We're that good. So I really personally encourage it, and we try our best to inculcate it in our menu, in our cocktails, and wherever we can to support the ecosystem.
Is the customer also open towards that?
I think the customers are really loving it. If you see Strangers is a leader in its own segment, right? There's nobody who can touch its volume. Like you just list Stranger & Sons on your menu and you'll see the volume lift off. You'll see a Greater Than. Whatever price point even if you're a little more than the lowest gin, you'll still see a good lift off. Because the product is excellent. And if you see in the retail segment also, what I've had discussions with a lot of learned people in the line, and they say the lift off is organic. They don't need to go into offers because the product is that good.
Okay. Joy, do you buy into that idea?
The produce that's coming out of India these days, be it non-alcoholic, alcoholic, anything that is at par with the world standards. And that's why Indian brands are being able to sustain, be it tonic waters, be it whiskeys, be it vodkas, be it anything there. We guys are stepping up the game with our own production and in a manner because we we as a country have always been gifted with the huge ecosystem that we guys have. And now the produce that we are coming up with is great, and that's why all of these brands are able to sustain. And the acceptance is there, that is why they are sustaining.
Sure. Coming back to the pairing side of the menu, any specific pairings which recently you introduced has been picking up well in the market?
See, we study customers a lot to do the pairings of food that we do with our alcohol. Okay, so if there is if there are more red meat items, okay, then for example, if we keep it very simple, if there are more red meat items, then a wine goes well with that, and
Yeah.
it acts as a digestive also to that. So these are the kind of pairings that we keep on working and implementing. So. Yeah.
Sure. Any specific pairing which has worked?
I would love to. So originally, I think pairings worked really well with wines and meats and stuff like that. But we've taken it a notch above. We've decided to go into cigar and scotch pairings. We've decided to do cigar, scotch, and food pairings. We're trying to do green tea with certain food as pairings. We are basically allowing the customer to, even the non-alcoholic consumers, to get an experiential which they normally wouldn't, like by giving them a lead on what they should have with what. It's just our take on what we feel should go with what, which will improve your entire experience with us.
Oh, yeah. If we talk about food and beverage pairings, you know, the authentic ones which Europeans has left for us is white wines, sparklings with white meat, chicken Caesar, fish, and red wines, heavy-bodied, medium-bodied wines with your lamb, your beef stroganoff, steaks. So food and beverage pairing these days for us as a hotelier has become a very flexible, guest-driven in fact, guest-driven. Right now, what I have done for a wine dinner for a corporate company, a 4-course meal with all Indian brands, starting with the beer, then your wine, then gin or whiskey option. So we've got all artisanal Indian curation for them, as well as if I get a chance, I would definitely love to pair some Indian chart with champagne, a Bellini or a mimosa, and some Indian rich gravies with some whiskeys, some bold whiskeys. So that's how the trend should be now, as our Indian market is really, really growing, which makes us proud too.
Can I just toss a
Sure.
question on that subject?
Sure.
What is your take on, do you pair cutters, flavor cutters, or flavor complementers generally? Like, what would you choose?
No, generally, I would definitely choose flavor cutters to complementers, because cutters, as a business model, also cutters enhance your consumption capability of both the products.
See, if I say food and beverage should complement each other, one thing should not dominate the taste of others. That's how the pairing should be. It has to be very simple, and somebody eating or enjoying should understand, should love.
Okay, coming back to the competition in the market, I'm sure there's a lot of competition which all of you are facing, and in different bars and segments. So how are you keeping it at bay? What new are you doing so that the customer keeps coming back to you?
If I'd say, just 2 weeks back, we have introduced our friend, that is a robot. If you see, follow the page of Roseate. So a robot serves you the breakfast, drinks, a glass of juice, beer or wine. That opens up the flap in front of the guest table, and guest takes himself. Or in case server is nearby, we help them. So that's one. And yes, for us right now, we cater more of corporate, travelers, and inbound business. So for us, it becomes a really healthy market for changes in the menu. In terms of food, in terms of beverages, something which guest wants, and in hotels, there are guests who travels back to back 3 months, 4 months, 6 months or something, and we have menu engineering which helps us to give us an idea of what is the best and what is a hit item, and something which is not moving, just replace it and replace it with something which exactly guest wants and guest looks for. So it's a complete survey with the team, and we check with the team what exactly guest is looking for these days. And yeah, that's how between us with the chef, we curate the menus. And it has to be, I think, every 6 or 8 months, because market is changing their palate very frequently. They want to try something new this time, next time, and next time.
Okay. Nikhil, how about you? Any learnings while running these different bars across the country?
Could you repeat your question just so I...
Any specific learnings from the various bars which you're running across the country? I mean, how to make sure the customer keeps coming back?
So, how to make sure the customer keeps coming back? We keep working on our experientials. We make sure we are one step ahead of the market rather than trend followers. We try to keep creating new trends, to do new things, to do things we are doing well, differently, to keep setting the bar higher and taking it above that, right? We compete with ourselves on a daily basis. So if I created a bestseller cocktail, I try to outdo that the next time around. If I have a menu with 70 spirits, I try to take that to 90. But the best spirits, the best in the world, which is not available in the market, we try to create experiences which nobody in the area is creating, thereby eliminating competition in a way, right? Because I have products which are unique to us. And we are all constantly, obviously, innovating with others, having discussions, understanding what the market needs rather than what they want today. Right? We're always working on a futuristic pattern where the additional products, the new menus, the new festivals are more future-centric rather than the trending items. Those are already been there, done that.
So, in order to be relatable, in order for customer to come back to us, okay, we as Rasta, as Yeti, we guys are about 15 years old in the industry with both the products. And we've survived on one thing that is more to do with relatability rather than experimentation. And that is because people relate to our product in a manner where we've created our products as their comfort zones. If you see the food of Yeti that we serve, it's a very comfort food that we serve. It's a very zero frills presentation also that we have, but it's very, very comfort food that we serve. And that brings them back to us, is what we figured out. And with Rasta being a neighborhood bar, with a bar that people relate to, okay, it's something to do with nostalgic value or something to do with how we address customers when they come, how we relate to them. That's why all our customers, we call them as Rasta family and not just patrons. So that's our funda of connecting with people and a recall value that they don't have to dress up every time to come to Rasta. They can walk in a pair of shorts and slippers also. It's that comfortable. So that's how we have tried to replace their living room with our bar. That why not, if you are getting two friends, why get them home, just get them to our bar and have 2 drinks and you'll be fine with it.
You captured it very nicely. And before I throw open the floor for audience questions, just a quick wrap-up one-liner from each one of you in terms of what do you see next emerging in India's beverages and bar domain?
There's a lot happening in our beverages domain, be it alcoholic, be it non-alcoholic. But I think one trend that still hasn't taken its course and one alcohol that still needs standing and is great is rum. I think people should focus more on rum and start like doing things with rum rather than just gins and whiskeys and vodkas. So, yeah.
We need to go beyond rum balls.
I'd completely agree with him. I was actually on the same page that rum is the new upcoming trend. I think it's still not had its run. Tequila currently is the flavor of the season, and I think some of the best tequilas in the world are now coming down to India. We are seeing every major player in the segment coming in. I see rum and cognac somewhere in the future coming in a big way.
Yeah, thank you. Talking about beverages, innovations are endless. What really, make a recall, factor for a guest is the food and the service, both has to talk to each other. Both has to complement each other. There's no point serving a lovely food, but with just a flat white plate and just raw. Educating the guest with the food, with the beverages, making them more knowledgeable, that's what make the guest, feel a little extra valued. And, recall us while they make their next plan to come back to us. So, yes, food and service, both has to talk to each other. So that's what make, the guests come back to us. So that's something really we need to, as industry, really need to work a little harder. If I talk about the hotels, the current, manpower is Gen Z, we all know, right? Not as passionate as, we used to be earlier. But yes, education to the team, down the line, then to the guest, and back coming forth, going into circle, that's what, it's very important right now in the industry.
Okay, I think with this, our panelists have captured it very well. Thank you.